everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Mostly Wrong Opinions. I am Tyrone. That gentleman right there is Devin. And what we're about to do right now is something different. We're actually about to announce our Kobe coin for this week. If you're new to the channel, what our Kobe coin is, we do decide on two movies and we flip it with the Kobe coin and let fate decide which one that we're going to be picking. Oops. But on this week's episode for the Kobe coin, what we got today is Cherry starring Tom Holland and Bloodshot starring family Vin Diesel. Okay, and I know it's gonna be some type of family in Bloodshot because it's Vin Diesel. So we're gonna have Vin Diesel, Bloodshot to be number 24, right? Kobe's jersey. And we have Cherry, Tom Holland, number 8. All right. We're about to flip it right now. Okay. All right, let's do it. Alright. Ready?
Yep.
1, 2. Woo! Alright. What we're gonna be watching today on Mostly Wrong Opinions, the Kobe coin has said Cherry! Cherry!
I'm 23 years old, and sometimes I wonder if life was wasted on me. I take all the beautiful things to heart, till I about die from it.
If I could save time in a bottle.
Cherry starring Tom Holland. Now in this movie, he's not doing any Spider-Man stuff, of course. He is being directed by someone who directed Spider-Man before, the Russo brothers. That's right.
And they both have a cameo in this film.
I did not see them.
Yeah. One of them, I don't know which, I can't tell you which is which, but one of them had lines. He was the bar manager at Tom Holland's second job.
Okay.
Yeah, where Tom's crying, and he's like, "Buck up."
Yeah.
You throw a rock, you can have sex with any girl in here. That guy.
You can bang 10 girls in here tonight. Throw a fucking rock. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Listen, I need you to do me a favor. I'm tired. I'm going home. I need you to look after a buddy of mine. His name is Tommy. That guy over there. Nice guy, great guy. Just got out of prison.
That was him?
Yeah, that was the director.
Oh, I did not know that, man. That's crazy. It's like, I'm not paying attention to none of that stuff because I was just paying attention to his acting. And just to let you guys know, I think Tom Holland's becoming one of my favorite actors in Hollywood right now.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic. He's fantastic. He's like this movie he's not going to win anything for, but I feel like he's on my mental list of future Oscar winners because you can tell he's going all out, man. He's really going all out. Yeah.
Now this movie is distributed by Apple TV. I don't own Apple nothing.
Don't.
Okay. I stole this movie. So, but this movie is written, or the story comes from a novel or a book that was written by who wrote this book? Mark something, right?
Nico Walker.
Yeah, I was so far off. Nico Walker wrote this book, and then it is adapted for this film, and it basically talks about a guy who went to war came back with PTSD, started doing heavy drugs because he could not handle the PTSD. Then he started robbing banks.
Yeah, this is a wild movie. Wild. I was like, whoa, okay, I guess that's a left turn. Then I'm like, oh, that's another left turn. Then I'm like, oh my god, that's another left turn. It just kept turning. Like because the movie is so wild and it takes so many turns, it feels very much like a book. Because books do that a lot. But movies do like one turn, and then the whole movie is all about the consequences from that turn. This is like, he went to war, then he got on drugs, then he started robbing banks, boom, 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 boom. It's like, oh, shit.
Yeah,
it's kind of wild.
It was like in chronological order from everything that happened. And this movie takes some points of breaking the fourth wall the whole time, majority of the time. The main character being the narrator, telling throughout the whole, the story of what's happening.
The scarf is to cover the lower half of my face. Although it's a little late for it to do any good. I've been at this a while now. And it's no secret what my face looks like. All right, no alarms! I'm a wanted man! They'll kill me!
And there is a lot of parts in this that's very heartbreaking, man.
Yeah, this is a very, like, sad, depressing movie.
Yeah.
I mean, the opening, of course, because it's how you make a sad movie. But the opening is very nice and it's very sweet, and it's almost like some sort of like meet cute romantic thing. But then, of course, it all just like crumbles.
Besides, with the first thing he says about the chick that he's looking at, because it kind of like, dang man, you gonna say it just like that?
Well, that kind of, because he saw her, he met her in class, his future wife. He met her in class, and yeah, he was like, that's definitely a girl I want to F.
And I don't want to tell lies, but I thought, man, I'd really like to fuck this girl.
I'm like, dang, okay.
Exactly, but she's one of those cute, innocent looking girls, but she has some things that happened within, her family past to where, and the director, I'm telling you something about their directing style, the Russo brothers. Like they mention something that happens in her life that's just like kind of positive, and it's like nothing. It's just a regular close up of her, kind of hiding herself in that still state. You know what I'm saying? But then she says something about her father, and then it reveals that she has a black eye, and it's the same pose, same, like she's on this high school stage, and it's very cool. It's like they flash back and forth. I love when directors do these flashbacks. Like this flashback back and forth between certain situations and certain things. Really,
right? Like in the scene you're describing, just to be clear for people who haven't seen the movie, Tom Holland, they were trying. He was like nervous. He didn't know what to say to her, so he was like, "Oh, where are you from?" And she said, "Oh, I'm from this little town." And he's like, "Well, what's it like there?" And she's like, "It's just another town, another tree." But then it cuts to that shot with her and her face covered, and it looks like she's on a stage.
Hey, where are you from?
Elba, New York.
What's that like?
Same kind of lake, same kind of town, just a little bit shittier.
And you can tell that there's a lot more under there that she could be revealing, but they don't have that relationship yet. But then later on, when they do have that relationship, right, she takes her hands down and you can see she's got a black eye, and it's like, oh man. And the character, the writing for the character is really good too, because there's a scene early on where her and Tom Holland first get together. And so Tom Holland, he's like overwhelmed with like how pretty she is, and she does something that's just so disturbing. She gets in the bed and she just closes her eyes and like grits her teeth, and she's like, do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want, man.
And it's like, oh, so clearly she suffered some terrible abuse. Because that's how she thinks, sex is supposed to go.
Yeah, she thinks that's what sex is supposed to go. That's what men just want, and that's when he started to cry because he realized that and it just brought them across closer, you know.
Yeah.
And they really started falling head over heels for each other. And what do people do when they fall, you know, head over heels for each other? They go to Subway. They eat fresh, bro.
That was later.
Not only is that just later, that's a common theme.
Right.
A relationship.
But they do fall in love, and they've got like kind of a shared trauma. Her trauma is considerably, initially anyway, considerably worse and deeper than his. It seems like, to talk about the themes for the film, it seems like Tom Holland, he feels emasculated, right? He feels like he's not tough enough, like he's not man enough, like his current girlfriend thinks he's a wimp, and she's like flirting with all these guys like right in front of his face, and dancing like really suggestively, and like the camera like tilts down so you can like see under her dress. It's like, wow, okay. And he's just sitting there like holding her coat, and then everyone's always like, are you man enough? Are you tough enough? And he's like, oh, I guess not. So he feels kind of emasculated. He feels small and little. And this plus another event that happens with his new girlfriend drives him to prove his manlyhood by joining the army.
Yeah. They start to get really close, and he admits that he loves her, and she says thank you.
Right.
And gets up, and you know, he's kind of hurt because of that. You know, he doesn't really talk about it. They don't really talk about it at that point, at that time.
But they did mention her idea of love before that she thinks love is fake. Yeah. That it's just, you know, it's chemicals in your brain tricking you, you know. Yep. So she thinks love is not real, it's fake. And yeah, when he says, I love you, she looks like traumatized, and she's like, thanks, and gets up and like walks away.
Yeah, which leads her to a decision to run away and go to college in Vancouver, or go Montreal. I almost said Vancouver. My bad. Sorry. Montreal. It's one of them Canada places. But yeah,
she's really spontaneous. So she'll just, and so is Tom Holland. He's also very spontaneous.
Yeah.
Now, at the time, it's seen as fun because, you know, he shows up to a party and he's got some ecstasy, and, you know, it's seen as kind of fun. But later, of course, that streak turns really dark and very, very unfun. But right now, you're right. She spontaneously says, I'm going to go to school in Canada. And Tom Holland is like heartbroken,
thinking about it all the time. You know, he enlists into the army, and of course the army is gonna take the army takes anybody. It's like you're a body to put in front of as they call in this movie Hajis, and that's what we need. You're a meat bag, and
Tom Holland, because Tom Holland has he's got a voiceover, you know. Like, and so he's like narrating the whole thing. His experience in the war in the military is not very good. Yep. So everything he says about the military is, like you said, Tyrone, it's shaded really bad. Like he's like, yeah, they just took me in. They take anybody. The recruiter knew he had me the second I walked in the door. And he later, you know, he describes his experience in basic training. He's like, you can't fail basic training. The only way you can fail basic training is if you kill yourself. So it's like, jeez. Yeah. His point of view, his perspective on the military is dark, like the rest of the movie.
Yeah, you know, and it's everything really changes within. Before we get into that part of him in the military, get to the part to where she comes into the diner with another dude. I was like, right. At first, man, I was like, the gall. Right. Friggin' English-speaking brother coming up in here, because we already know they rare. He comes up in here trying to be skinny Idris Elba. So it's like, I was like, man, I kind of fell for Tom right there. You know, what you doing? And his homeboy come out of nowhere and says, you want me to punch him in the dick for you? He was like, go sit down.
Right.
He's really want to push this guy in the dick. Go sit down. So,
but even that scene there is it because later on Tom Holland becomes a junkie, and even these scenes here kind of show how you end up on that path to like a junkie, where like in college at the time they're in college, how this like casual drinking, because before that they were like sneaking drinks and drinking and popping pills, and when you're 20 something or I guess it can be seen as like experimentation or just kids being kids, but of course as you get older, that's a dark path to head down. So you're right, his friend, who was clearly drunk out of his mind, was like, "You want me to punch him in the dick?" So, yeah.
Exactly.
Which is funny at the time, but
yeah.
that's a dark path that can head down.
Yeah, and he asks her to leave, but she comes back and admits that and she she did it because she was scared about falling in love with him, and they got hitched, they got married, and
well, she explains that like she's never been in love because she didn't think it was real, and the way she deals with her trauma is she just runs away, right? So that was her when she realized that Tom Holland loved her. She was like, "Yeah, I'm getting out of here. I'm running." And so, but then she realized that she couldn't do that. She's got to face up, and you're right. They got hitched like that day. Like again, they're very spontaneous. Both of them, very spontaneous.
Celebrated the Subway. So
they did. They went to Subway. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So it gets to the point to where he has to leave for basic training. He meets a guy in there who's about to have a baby, and his wife, his girlfriend is frantic about this whole thing because he's going to the military to make money and all this stuff. That's what he thinks, he's making money to be a medic, and Tom Holland's going in there to be a medic. And that's the only thing that they got similar, within these two dudes in there. And well,
that is kind of another theme though, where both his best friend and Tom Holland's friends are like pressuring them to not go to the military.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't do it.
Yeah,
don't do it. And they, they're like, "Oh, it's fine. I'll go. It's fine," because they're looking for purpose. So Tom Holland, our introduction to Tom Holland, is where he's like wandering around the neighborhood, and he feels like he's got no purpose.
Yeah.
And we learn that, which is why he goes to the military later, because he wants to feel like he's got a reason to be here. Because he initially said he thought life was wasted on him.
Yeah.
So here he is trying to find some purpose in the military, and he finds a whole lot of other stuff.
Mm-hmm. One of his friends was Super Duper Kyle.
Who's Super Duper Kyle?
We too old, but I know Super Duper Kyle. He was on tour with Logic, man, and he's in this movie. He plays Roy, the brother, his black friend. So he gets into this thing, into the military. They become very good at patching people up and everything, and they go out here in war, and at first.
Well, before they go to war, my bad, Tyrone. Before they go to war, he goes to basic and he learns how to be a soldier. And again, at this point, he felt emasculated, like he wasn't like man enough. And he goes to war and he's got all these like drill sergeants yelling at him, talking about how he's good for nothing and how he'll die in the war, blah 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 blah. But of course, he finds out that most of his drill sergeants never even went to war.
Never.
And they're all full of it, So it's like all these guys pretending to be tough. And I think that is a big theme, and that's what leads Tom Holland down this dark path, where there are lots of people, Tom Holland included, pretending to be, these alpha male tough guys. Everyone's out to prove that they're tougher than the last guy. And Tom Holland really goes to go prove it, and man, he sees some dark stuff. There's a drunk guy in the bar where one of the Russo brothers, where one of the Russo brothers is the manager, and he more or less like states this thing.
They got the balls to put a gun to the guy's head, put a gun to the guy's head and blow his brains out.
And that's what he kept saying, that they didn't have the balls to put a gun to a guy's head
and blow his brains out.
right? He like screams it out. He's a drunk guy in the bar, and he's like, "Are you?" He's just screaming to random people. "Are you mad enough to shoot somebody in the brain?" And it's like, what?
Yeah.
And then, but then of course, when Tom Holland's like, "Well, I'm going to the military," and that guy's like, "Oh, don't do that."
Yeah, he's like, he said, "They don't care about you up there, son." That's what he said. Yeah. He said, "They don't care about you," and they don't.
Certainly not from Tom Holland's character's point of view. Certainly not. But yeah, that first half is all about him trying to prove his masculinity somehow, trying to prove he's a man, prove he's not some kind of weakling, useless person. But yes, he goes to war, and he goes to the military, and he goes to basic training. He finds all these sergeants who are also full of it, pretending to be tough guys when they're really not that tough. And he's like, "Yeah, during basic training, we rescued 43 dummies." They're doing like the medical stuff on the dummies, but then he goes to the real war, to the real theater, and he has a very different experience.
They had two guys who was pent up on a quarry, and they had to get up there and get to this guy while bullets was flying past their heads. Okay,
and it's insinuated that this is like his first day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like this is day one, and this is like wars and tours that you're gonna have to do for at least 2 years.
Right.
So they get up there, and this dude's insides, his intestines, is outside of his body.
But it's notable that before he gets to the guy with the intestines hanging out of his body, Tom Holland he's told that there's someone who needs medical help up there, where all the shooting is.
Yeah, they just think
so. Tom Holland
starts that guy by the truck.
Yeah, he stops for the guy by the truck he's been grazed on the shoulder, and Tom Holland's like, "Okay, all you gotta do is put a little pressure on it," and the guy's like, "Get off me, get up there." It's like, oh, this is not considered an injury. No. Gotcha. There's something much worse up the hill, and they get up to the hill, and yes, they find a guy, and his intestines are hanging out, and Tom Holland's like, "Oh my God, this is not a game anymore. Yeah. They are not saving dummies. This is not play. It is very, very real."
Yeah. Him and his friend, it was Reyes. That was his friend's name.
Gosh, I can't remember.
I think his name is Reyes. They both got a little culture shock right there, and
they both got their cherry popped.
Yep, because I was about to get to the part of where they get back to the bunker. And then the dude comes over and he says, "I heard on the TV that blah 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 got he's dead." And then they went to the staff sergeant, and then he was like, "Is he dead?" And he's like, "Don't believe what that whatever said." And they pan to him. He's like, "That's what I thought I saw."
Right.
And then he was like, he said, "It doesn't matter. Today you got your cherry pops."
Right. Because Tom Holland was concerned.
That was chapter 3.
Yeah, the movie's divided up into chapters. But Tom Holland was concerned about the guy he just saved, or tried to save. He put him in the helicopter, but then, they heard on TV that, everyone in the helicopter died. They didn't specify how or why or anything like that. And so Tom Holland went to go ask for more information, and it's left ambiguous as to whether or not that was real or not, although it seemed like, yeah, they're dead. That's kind of how I interpreted it. Yeah. That he worked so hard and was traumatized, ultimately, for them to die anyway.
Now, during this thing of war, they talk about kids that could be that has bombs on them that can come up to them to be all friendly and stuff, and then boom, they're dead because they got C4 and stuff strapped to them. So they have to be, the head is on the swivel when they go through these towns, and they try to go into these towns and take care of these people, liberate them, and also try to give them medical attention. Now, this staff sergeant is an asshole.
Right, and he's full of it because it sounds like the guy who said that, he probably never even really went to war. So
yeah,
he's probably heard that. He's probably heard that story from a story from someone else, which was probably a story from someone else, which is probably someone from someone else, and he's just adapted it into his story. Again, it's like fake masculinity thing. But yes, their head is on the swivel when they're going through these towns, when these kids they run up on the Humvee.
Yeah, and this I wanted that staff sergeant to die. I wanted him to be the one to die because he said this little girl over there looked like pebbles, and he was dangling food in front of her, and they threw it and stuff.
Look at that one in the dress. She looks like Pebbles from the Flintstones.
Oh, yeah, she is kind of cute.
I was like, what an asshole.
Well, they heavily insinuated that he was a rapist.
Yeah, that's shit too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want him to die.
So,
I want him to die.
Yeah, he was awful. He was terrible.
So,
yeah.
You know, and they're trying to get through this, to get from point A to point B through this this landfill. It's a field that's basically from mush. It's mush through there. And Tom Holland's like, we should not go through that area because you're going to need to dig out these trucks. It's too heavy. It's going to sink in the sand. And he's like, shut up. I know where I'm going. I'm going to waste time and risk my crew by going this way. We could get through it faster this way. And
again, this fake masculinity thing. He's like, you're not going to tell me. I'm the sergeant. I make the decisions. You know, even though Tom Holland had been through there, he's like, yeah, don't go over there. There's mud over there. The truck's going to get stuck. He's like, I'm going. You sit down. You shut up.
Exactly.
Like, fine, whatever.
And guess what happens, people? It gets stuck. And not only does it get stuck, he's like, you get this truck to get that truck out of the...
And Tom Holland's like, you can do that, but that ain't gonna work. No. So you actually need to do this. Then the guy's like, shut up, maggot. We're gonna do this. And it's like, okay. And of course, he got another truck stuck.
So they had.
And then he's like, hey, just do it, Tom Holland. He's like, real quiet about it. Yeah.
So they have to go back and get there's pulley in this wrench thing to pull them both out of there. Basically a bigger thing to get them out. So Tom Holland's buddy, you know, that he started the whole thing with, he gets into this truck, gets ready to him and 3 other drivers, they get in there to go get this tool while Tom Holland stays back with the sergeant and other people. No more than probably 5 seconds after they leave, the truck explodes. It gets hit. Boom! Gone.
It's unclear exactly how the truck blew up. It's not clear if they hit a landmine or what. And
yeah,
I guess it doesn't really matter
RPG
because
or anything because
everyone's back was turned, right? Because they were like, yeah, you go back, and so they didn't see what happened.
And
again, it's a lot of this vague stuff. It's just like terrible.
The camera pans in on Tom right before he's about to light a cigarette, and then you see the explosion in the background, and then he gets up, he runs, he's yelling at the truck, and it was like, don't go in there, and he's crying. He's like, his only friend that he ever talked to in this whole thing is dead. And when I say dead, people, he is charred. And it's like the most gruesome thing that you can see in a war.
Right. And because Tom Holland is a medic, he's responsible for removing the bodies.
Yeah.
So he's got to pull the charred body of his best friend out of that truck. And so this obviously traumatizes him deeply.
Deeply. You know, they're on the ride back. You know, they have blood all over them. They have to wash it off. You know, it's now this is just months and months of stuff like this happening to them.
Right.
And, you know, eventually he makes it back stateside, you know, where they're welcomed home, you know.
They're welcomed home with the worst song ever.
What was it again?
It's And, you know, so he's walking through the smoke and the song is playing and Tom Holland's like, oh my God, especially after seeing like his best friend, you know, charred. And they give him the Medal of Valor and everyone's so proud of him. And he's like,
he looks at the camera, the 4th bar away. He's like, I really just want to get the fuck out of here. That's all he said. Let's get the fuck out of here. That's all I want to do. And he walks slow motion. He sees that his wife is there waiting for him, which he, you know, periodically over the time there, they were talking with each other, and, you know, at his breaking point, at his lowest low being there, he breaks down and cries on the phone with her. You know, this happened before, you know, he gets back to the stateside, and now he's back in civilization and he gets a job. When you come back from that, things are gonna happen. Like his mind
Yep.
is screwed. He's yelling at people. He's more aggressive. He's up here just topping over stuff. They're inside of a theater about to see some stupid play, and he's yelling at a dude for not having on right dress attire. You know what I'm saying?
Well, because he was so deeply disturbed by what he saw in the war, he had a hard time adjusting back to civilian life. So he took to Oxycontin and he took to alcohol, and so yeah, he's acting crazy and erratically, and he even says that he says himself that he's acting crazy, but he can't control it. He's like, he recognizes that he's acting crazy, and he's like, but I'm just a crazy person now in the house.
Yeah.
You know, because he's like throwing the toaster after he burns the toast, and like, yeah, it's a whole thing.
It is great performance too. So he has to, get to this doctor and, get treated for PTSD. And that's what he thinks he's there for, to get treated for PTSD. And
well, before that, his wife is like, look, you can't just sit at home self-medicating off Oxycontin and liquor all the time. You need to get help from a medical professional. And he's like, yeah, you're right. All right. So I'm going to go to the doctor. And go ahead.
he gets there and he prescribes him. What does he prescribe him?
He prescribes him Oxycontin.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. Like, even our medical system, all they do is prescribe drugs. And so, he goes there to try and find another way to cope. And the doctor's like, hey, have you tried Oxycontin? And Tom Holland's like, huh? So it's so sad. Like, he seems to be unable to get real help, because he's on Oxycontin. His wife is like, well, fuck this,
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with you anymore. I don't want to deal with this. I wish I could just vanish too. Well, shoot, I'll take it then. So now she's taking the Oxycontin too.
Yep. So she starts to get addicted to that.
Mm-hmm.
And in comes the thing, the pill guy, where he gets more drugs and stuff like that. And then the pill guy trusts Tom Holland to pick up a safe and tells him, if you don't open the safe, don't care about what the contents of the safe is, whatever it is, just pick it up for this dude named Black, Mr. Black. And you get more drugs and stuff that way. And so
and Tom Holland and his wife are bona fide junkies.
They're junkies.
They're self-admitted junkies.
Yeah.
So they're in a bad shape.
Mm-hmm. They're it's heroin at this point. And they get the safe back, but they think she's not getting high from the heroin that they got from the pill boy guy. And so they're like, what's in the safe? The good stuff is probably in the safe. So they destroy the safe, crack it open.
Well, that's what she says. She says she's not getting high, but clearly she's high as hell because she's like, break the safe, get mad at the safe, baby, break it open. Yeah. It's all right. They break it open. They have a crazy bender.
Yeah,
just going crazy off all the pills that are in there. But eventually, Mr. Black, he's like,
I want my money.
Y'all got my safe or my money. Yeah. And all of this leads to Tom Holland robbing banks. So he's like, because he does it for the first time and he's terrified, but he's surprised at how easy it is. He just shows a sign, a dollar bill that says, I have a gun, give me money, and they just hand it over. And he's like, oh, this is easy.
Very easy. And he does this several times over and over again, and it becomes an addiction to where, he gets the money, he buys more, he gets more heroin, they shoot up, all of them shoot, him and his wife shoots up and stuff like that. But then she goes a little bit too overboard and she ODs. I thought she was dead. Boy, she looked.
Me too. Thought she was dead too.
Dead. Like Casper dead. Okay? Yep. And not friendly.
Yep.
So
yep.
They're in the hospital, he's crying about it, and you would think that because his parent, the doctor is asking, what did you give, what happened, and all this stuff. And then it was like, she did heroin and all this stuff, and her mom comes in there and she's like, you need to get away, or what'd she say, I'll fuck you up.
Something like that.
She said, you need to get away from our daughter if you love her so much, or fuck you up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, go ahead, mama. But
Yeah.
she ends up being okay, and he's like, you got to get away from me.
The downfall for this movie, the downfall is that she and he are actually really in love, for real. It's not just the drugs. The drugs are just part of it, but they are actually in love, which means these two junkies, they cannot get away from each other. And so, right, they end up getting back together. It's just this terrible cycle of robbing banks. Like you said earlier, robbing banks to get money. They use the money on drugs. They run out of money. They rob more banks. They run out of money, get drugs, on and on and on and on and on. Terrible cycle.
Yeah.
Until he has enough. There's a whole lot that happens here that we're just gonna glaze right over.
Yeah.
But there's a whole lot that happens here. When he tries to incorporate his friends into the robberies, they're not really down for it. You know, probably because they haven't seen war like he has. So being in a terrible, horrible situation doesn't faze him, but it absolutely phases his friends. One of his friends gets shot. They dump his body under a bridge. This is a wild, wild movie. And eventually, Tom Holland goes to jail, and it seems like jail is a good place for him. Like he seems like he gets cleaned up a bit, and this is where the movie kind of gets weird because he's got like old man makeup. Because I did the math, so I guess he's supposed to be about 45 towards the end. So this. Yeah, because if he's in high school, he was in college in 2002.
And he gets out in
and then 2021, so he'd be in his 40s. So he's probably mid-40s, early to mid-40s. So he's got like some old man makeup on, and he's got a weird mustache, and Tom Holland's a very youthful-looking guy. So it's kind of weird, but whatever. Yeah, he seems to get cleaned up, and it ends more on a happy note. But right.
Does it? We don't really know.
Unclear.
It's unclear.
Unclear.
He go through the rehab thing when he's in prison for robbing all these banks but she's clean on the outside and stuff, and she looks a little bit better and stuff like that. But who knows? They're gonna revert back to their old days, their old times. But
right, he steps out of prison to an uncertain future.
The fact that movie had me thinking like that makes it a good movie to me.
I will say, for me, what impressed me the most about this film wasn't necessarily Tom Holland. It was the Russos. This movie was beautiful. Like, the cinematography, amazing. The pacing, incredible.
Yeah.
It's great. But I do think, man, this story is absolutely depressing. Like, it is pitch black. Me and you had a conversation earlier about what a dark film looks like, and I said, some people just think a dark film is you just turn the lights down.
Yeah.
This is a dark film. This is probably one of the darkest films we've reviewed on this show. It is pitch black, darker than The Devil All the Time, and that movie was dark too.
Yeah.
I don't know what the heck's going on with Tom Holland, but Jesus.
But he's showing his acting chops in both of those movies.
Yeah.
And,
Excellent.
I'm proud of him. It just as long as he keeps cranking that stuff out, because Spider-Man is not gonna last that long anymore. It's like you got one or two more left.
No.
So he keeps cranking these out, he'll be just fine. I'm gonna give my rating on this movie, Cherry. I give this movie an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay, 8.5 out of 10. Yep, totally respectable. I think this movie is so pitch black. I mean, it could use a little humor or something, lighten the mood up or something.
Yeah.
Shit, it is dark. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So because of that, it's just like it is kind of like one of the. My mom sometimes she's like, there are some movies where it's like life's a bitch and then you die, and this is kind of like one of them movies. Like, it is dark. So because of that, again, just like last week, I have a hard time recommending it.
That's what it's made for, though. It's made.
I know, but it is dark. Like, it is a dark movie. I have a hard time recommending it, but I think because the movie is so pretty, I think because Tom Holland really did a great job, I'm gonna give it. I've been waffling, so I'm gonna give it an 8, a solid 8.
Cool. All right. So I'll give it 8.5. Devin gives this movie, Cherry, a 8, solid 8.
But before we move on, I was going to say I like the themes a lot in this film. I like the themes of of this like fake masculinity thing. I like that a lot, and I like this like terrible cycle that him and his wife end up into. Like the movie's got a lot. It's really dark. It's got a lot to say, but it maybe could get cleaned up a little bit because it feels very very much like a book and not so much like a movie. You know what I mean?
Very much.
It feels like a book, and a book format and a movie format are different. And so I think for some people might find this way too dark and kind of meandering because of the book format.
True. Well, everyone, that is our review for Cherry. Go check it out if you want to, if you're into dark movies.
Sometimes I feel like I've already seen everything that's gonna happen. And it's a nightmare.
All right, and then the next film that we got coming up is something that's totally on the different side of mood, tone, enjoyment. That's right, In the Heights.
It's a story of a block that was disappearing. In un barrio called Washington Heights. The streets were made of music.
I am Usnavi, and you probably never heard my name. Reports of my fame are greatly exaggerated.
In the Heights is directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And, of course, we know him from Hamilton.
It's actually not directed by him. It's written by him.
Written by him, yes. It's directed by the dude who directed Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah.
But this is a story, to me, this is a story about hope. This is a story about culture. This is a story about Washington Heights. And it follows a young man by the name of Usnavi. Yeah, because he came to the States and he said he saw a boat and he was like, I'm going to name my son that.
Right.
Usnavi. United States Navy. So, but it follows him as a young man who has dreams of taking over his father's store and bar over in Dominican Republic, and because he calls that's the best times in his life that he always thought of in the past. And now this movie, people, is a musical. You'll hear a lot of singing. A lot of rapping, because if you've seen Hamilton, that's what that is.
Yeah, and the music sounds very Hamilton-like, you know. It's got like that same kind of like rhythm that I can't do, but you know, it's like everyone kind of makes fun of that like weird like. Yeah, exactly.
Into the door and
that's how it is. Yeah, it sounds just like Hamilton. He like copy paste. It's like same kind of tone. Yeah.
And you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a working formula that's for the film and possibly for the stage play, because I don't know if he wrote this into a stage play first and then made it into a film, but
I'm not sure either.
But I know that it has all the beats of what a stage play is.
Exactly. Like it feels very much like a play. And for that it took me a minute to like get into it, because it's got like a play style kind of rhythm, and I'm like, what? And so it took me a minute to kind of relax into it, because especially the first half, I feel like it would have been better as a play than as a movie until I finally like settled into its own like unique rhythm, you know.
You know what probably helped that is just the speaking parts. The speaking dialogue parts kind of help that guide that along to help the story go along,
right?
In different parts. Now, each person in this film, the ones that are closely woven to Usnavi, which is the whole neighborhood, but is his friend Nina and this girl named Vanessa, and like Nina is coming back from school and she has a secret that's unveiled about after three-fourths of the film. And they don't know it yet, but she comes back from school, and she's like, why am I wasting my time there? This is my home. I want to figure out how to help my community and all stuff like that, you know. And the brother Corey, what is his name?
Right, who played
the brother from Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah, he played Dr. Dre. Yeah.
Yeah, he can sing.
Yeah, he was pretty good, and he could dance too. But see, I feel like that's the role that what's the guy from from Hamilton, and he also was in the movie One Night in Miami.
Yeah, I know.
That's clearly that's clearly his role, right? So I wonder why he didn't play it.
It was probably filmed at the same time.
Maybe, but it's clear you can even like the cadence of like the rapping. It's like that's for him, But he's not in it. You're right. It's the guy from Straight Outta Compton. So, and he did a really good job. There's a scene later because I was trying to figure out. I was like, oh, is he like Afro Latino or is he just black guy or what? But there's a scene later where everyone's got their flags. They're dancing and they've got their flags from where they're from. You see flags from the DR. You see flags from Puerto Rico. He's the only flag with he's the only person carrying a Jamaican flag. So I guess he's
yeah, he did play a Jamaican flag.
Yeah. So he's from the Caribbean, but just different spot.
Which there's a little bit of controversy this weekend because of that.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel that there's somewhere on the interwebs and online where people are complaining about the film not having more Afro-Latino support.
Right.
And,
well, it didn't have any Afro-Latinos like as main characters. It had one, and that's the girl you're talking about. But outside of that, there's not many. So if you've ever been to Washington Heights, right, you would know or you would notice that like a huge chunk, I want to say the majority, but I'm not sure if it's the majority, but a huge chunk of the population there are Afro-Latino. So for that part of the city to be represented, by people who aren't that, it does look a little weird. But that's definitely a big controversy that's going on right now. And Lin-Manuel Miranda, he had to issue an apology for it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah.
And that was really big ups to him for doing so. Because when you notice something that it wasn't on purpose, it's just something that I would say it was probably just a slip up, and he just, he didn't get it into the script. He didn't cast more people and stuff like that. So I understand.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but you're right. But that to me that does not, or at least upon first viewing, it has not overshadowed the film.
No. Yeah, because the film is very upbeat. It's super colorful, and like I said, with the other people that play a role around Usnavi, they play roles like the girl that Vanessa, who she has dreams of being a fashion designer and getting. Well, her thing was getting out of the Heights and moving to another apartment, and finding inspiration and just moving on and stuff like that. While Usnavi trying to holler at her, but he's also trying to do his dreams at the same time.
Right. She wants to go downtown and live like in the fashion district. So there's all these shots and scenes of her digging around in the trash cans behind all these like fashion places and picking up their cloth and all that stuff. So
I was like, what the hell?
See,
what was a big old New York rat?
That does. See, I thought that was weird too when I moved here. But it's a thing. People go picking. They'll go pick to the garbage.
That's so weird.
Not unusual. Especially like a place like a fashion place where they've got really expensive like cloth and fabrics. That's a thing.
Why would they even throw that away?
Because it's too small. You can't do anything with it. But maybe she can make a scarf or something, or a sash, or who knows. Or maybe the wrong fabric was ordered, or who knows?
Man, that's worse than wasting food, or just as much. Clothes in someone's back, food in someone's belly is always important in the world. Remember that, kids. Now, yeah. So,
but you're right. I don't mean to cut you off. You're right, because I want to say this before you moved on. Unlike Hamilton, which you said was also written by Lin-Manuel Miranda, I can never get his name right. Forgive me. Yeah. But unlike Hamilton, this movie does have like regular speaking parts. Hamilton, it's like singing all the way through. This one does have like regular speaking parts, and that does help with the like more film aspect part of this movie because it is a movie. But so they what the format really is, whenever someone like feels something really strongly, they'll break out into a dance, or if maybe they've got to make this big reveal, they'll break out into a song. But there are big chunks of this film that are just regular spoken dialogue.
Right, in the beginning of this, you see Usnavi on the beach. And these kids come up. They want to hear a story about about the heights, and he tells them this story, and he's like, sing it, say it louder, Washington Heights, so it doesn't disappear. You know, a faraway land where music is comes from the streets. Right. You know, and
he's on he's on the beach in Dominican Republic, and he is it appears very much that he is the owner of like a little shop. And we know that his father owned a shop that was also on the beach in Dominican Republic, and he wants to revive it. So it's like, oh, okay, this is clearly a flash forward to him on the beach. And I am not a native Spanish speaker. I am not going to embarrass myself by trying to say it. But the name of the place was called, in English, it's called The Little Dream. So, and dreams are of course the big theme in this film. So we already see that, like you said in the opening, it would appear that his little dream has come true.
Yeah, and he's telling this story to these kids, and it goes into what we were just previously talking about you know, the people that's around him. Now, the matriarch of the whole neighborhood, Abuela.
Yeah, that's just grandma in Spanish, but yeah.
Yeah, I knew that. But yeah, she's just like the matriarch who takes care of everyone, and she like drops these nuggets of truth to each of them, and it just kind of just not only does it just sink in their head, it just gets into their soul and it's so family. Yeah, everyone there is family. Everyone knows everybody.
And I can really relate to some of the things she said. Like there's a scene early on where she talks about these napkins that she's got. And these are napkins that they've got some kind of stitching on it, and they're hand stitched, and she wants to get them cleaned for this big dinner she wants to have with everyone. And someone asks like, oh, why are you going through all this, you know, stuff for these napkins? And you know, and how come you don't sell these napkins? Because these napkins, you know, they're probably worth a lot of money. And she's like, no, I can't sell them because they're part of my heritage. They're part of me. I got them from my mother back in Cuba. And she said that the reason why they spent so much time, like, making sure these little napkins, just a small little detail is perfect, is because, you know, when you're not white, people will try and take your dignity away. So you have to assert your dignity in any little way as possible. And the way she and her family did it was through these napkins.
Her hands were cracked from the cleaning fluids, but the gloves hid that. We had to assert our dignity in small ways. That's why these napkins are beautiful. That's why my mother's gloves were beautiful.
And like, so relatable. Like I just thought that was such a powerful line. That was great.
Yeah, that was another powerful line that I can't remember it by heart, but I know there was a part where the owner of a taxi cab call box company. His daughter is Nina, who basically dropped out of college, not going to go back to Stanford, and you know he has money problems. So you know he calls the school, he goes, and then he basically says, you know, no, they tell him that the time is not up. You know, you still have time to pay for the tuition.
Right,
and stuff.
Because she lied to him. She said she dropped. Yeah. She says she dropped out because she didn't want to do it anymore, and plus he can't do anything about it because the time to pay is over. He calls, and that turns out that's not true. That's not the case.
Yeah, so he sells his company, which the dude from the dude from played Dr. Dre, Corey. That's his real name, Corey. He worked there, so he ain't got no dang job, you know. And he sold it, and they had this dinner that the matriarch she made for them, and like an argument happens right there, and he's like, you know, it basically is like Varsity Blues. I don't want your life type of stuff, you know. And you know, it's like it's his dream. But there was a line that he said at the table when she came back from that rally. What was that line?
Oh, you mean like at the end when he finally came to terms with what she wanted to do with her life?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So to fast forward in the end, she agrees to actually go to Stanford because he did sell his company, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna go to Stanford, but I'm not gonna go to Stanford for what I was going for before. It seems like she's gonna change her major to like political science or something, so that people like her, so that the dreamers, again, it's all about dreams. The dreamers who want to become U.S. citizens have an easier path. And he's like, oh, you can finally see a future that I can't see. And
that's it.
This is it, homie, huh?
What?
This is the moment where you do better than me. Not because of some fancy degree. It's because you can see a future that I can't.
And
I was like, I woke up, I was like, what did Dad say?
Right.
I finally see a future that I cannot see, and I was like, dang.
Yeah, and I even liked how they, again, the whole thing, the big theme about the film is this little dream, these dreams, and I like how they even wove in like the dreamers, and of course dreamers are people who crossed over the border to the United States, but when they were kids, so they didn't have anything to do with it, right? They were kids, so they were born for all intents and purposes, they are American. They don't know any other place, and so there's a character in the film who is Sonny. Yep. Who we find out later he is undocumented. He came over when he was 8 months old, and he's like, so that means he can't go to college, and he is of course upset about this, and I just like how they wove the term dreamers into this larger theme of having a dream for your future.
Yeah, and that kind of broke me too.
Yeah, man, me too. I was like, yeah.
Because I was like, hey, man, college ain't for everybody, but it may be for you. But because of this whole thing that's in a real life thing where the government's tried to stop, the dreamers. That's DACA, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. DACA is the program that allowed the dreamers to become out of the shadows, right? Instead of hiding it. Mm-hmm.
So it's just sucks so much. You know what else is another tearjerker for me, man, in this movie? I don't even want to think about it because it's going to bring me to tears. But when the grandmother was when the lights went out and it was a blackout, and then all her children was home, and they all started celebrating in the streets, and even though the lights were out, they were all working together as a team, as a community. And Corey's character, he went back into the establishment, even though after he sold it, and he's like, there's no electricity, but people need to get around, so I'm gonna do this by hand on my phone and have a generator run the other boards. And then Nina's father came helping all that stuff, and then there's fireworks that's in the city, and it's bringing on lights and everything. And she feels like my community has come together. My time, I did what I had to do. And then she sings this beautiful song about how they came to America in the dream. Oh,
me too.
I was like, no.
Yeah, that was definitely my favorite song. I agree. It was beautiful. Yeah. And she talked about how hard it was for her to come from Cuba to the United States, and how pretty much the country was like telling her to go back and quit speaking Spanish, learn English, lose a part of yourself, assimilate to become American. And she did not. She remained herself. She remained strong, and she did what she had to do. And a big debate in the film was whether or not she should go back to the Caribbean with Usnavi. And so she's like, oh, so should I stay here, the place where my parents fought so hard for me to be, or should I go? Like, what do I do, Mom? What do I do? She kept talking. She kept referring to her mother, and yeah, at the end, she became at peace that she was she was of both places. She was from Cuba and also from New York, and when she died, I liked how she walked up the stairs. She went to heaven. I was like, it's beautiful. That's great. It's such a great song.
And it's like that moment and different parts of this moment remind me of Disney Pixar's Coco.
Oh yeah, totally.
And I was crying so much during Coco, boy. I was like, it's so heartwarming to see, culture survive that way. And not survive and thrive and it just hits you right there in the heart, and it makes me think about my people, black people,
totally.
To where 400 years ago, Juneteenth is this today. When you guys are seeing this, is today, or this weekend, where our people was taking off those slave ships and made slaves and sold for property, and what came with that was culture being stripped. So it sucks. So it's like, yeah, we people have African restaurants and Jamaican and all this other stuff, restaurants and things like that brings the culture to individual little spots around United States. But I don't know what tribe I'm from.
Yeah, that's
and I'm pretty sure Devin does not know.
No, that's kind of the raw deal you get being black in America. You don't really have roots like that. You know what I mean? You don't really have like a culture like that you can celebrate and like scream from the rooftops or a flag you can wave. You know what I mean? Like you don't really
this film.
Exactly. You don't really have it. You got for black people, you have to make up a whole new one, right? You got to make up a whole new identity, right? So we talked a little bit before we started filming, but I always find that like so powerful when people can do that kind of stuff, and they do it so proudly. It's like it's great. It's beautiful. And in this film, there is a character. She works at the salon, and her salon is moving because the neighborhood is being gentrified. So she can't get the same clients that she got before if she stays in the Heights. So she's moving. I think she's moving, to the Bronx. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Oh, you guys can't follow me to the Bronx? Come to the Bronx." She said, "Our people survive slave ships, and you guys can't survive the D train." I was like,
Cariño, what are you riding? A time machine?
Excuse me. Our people survived slave ships. We survived Taino genocide. We survived conquistadores and dictators. You're telling me we can't survive the D train to the Grand Conquest?
Yeah, exactly. So
which I think highlights something that I think a lot of people, because American education, they don't even know. How did all these brown people get to the Caribbean? They got here on slave ships, just like our people.
Just like black people. Yeah, exactly.
It's literally the same people. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
Native Caribbeans they're more like Native Americans, right?
Yeah, exactly.
but the darker skinned ones, it's because Africans obviously came to the Caribbean via the slave trade. So again, I think that's something a lot of people don't even know. I didn't know that until I was in high school. So, which is I feel like that's shameful, and I did not learn that at our high school. I learned that.
You was about to say it.
I didn't learn it there. We went to high school together, by the way.
Yes, boy, he was about to say that name in high school. That's
It was close. It was close. I caught myself. I caught it.
Yeah,
I caught it.
Good.
But yeah, I had to learn that. I had to learn that on my own. So again, these kind of things, these kind of like history lessons that are even in this film. I loved it. It's great.
What I can say about this movie, man, $96,000 is a lot.
Oh yeah, especially if you live in the Heights. Oh my gosh.
You live in the Heights, $96,000.
Right.
Spend a lot of money on these tickets.
$96,000. Damn. $96,000. Holla. $96,000. That's a lot of spray cans.
So there's for what Tyrone's talking about, there's a lottery, and someone in the Heights won the lottery, and they don't know who. And so everyone's like trying to check their tickets, see who won. And after the song, the little girl, she's like, "Oh, so who won?" And Usnavi's like, We don't know. And it doesn't matter because everyone had a dream. Everyone, for a minute, everyone had a little dream, which is what his place is called, the little dream. So I was like, oh, that's really good. It's just the spectacle, just the idea of winning $96,000. You know, that got everyone dreaming, got everyone just like all up in the sky in their head. Oh, that was great.
Yeah, man, it's inspirational, man, because compared to know what we do here on Mostly Wrong Opinions and what I do on Europe Nation Reactions, and it's all a dream. It's a dream that can come true with the help of you guys for liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell so you stay up to date with everything we do right here on Mostly Wrong Opinions. Yes, it does. Help the dream get along faster.
But so I can just shit all over your dream. Let's talk about, for me, the biggest negative for this film.
Blah, blah, blah.
I know. It's got to be said, though. The biggest negative for this film is the length. We also spoke about this off camera a little bit, but this movie is, I think it's about 2 hours 20 minutes, not counting that's not counting the credits, and there is a little end credit stinger. That is long. That is, to me, I think that's unwieldy for a film. Now, this of course was a play, or is a play. So that's perfectly on par for a play, right? Plays are actually might be a little thin for a play.
Like 4 hours long.
Yeah.
Play. What?
But the difference from a play is a play has an intermission, and this one does not, right? And you can tell where the intermission is supposed to go. It goes right after the grandma dies. You can totally tell. But this film does not. Yep, like dead center. This film does not have an intermission. So when the grandma dies, which is just a devastating part of the film, it just goes straight through to the next part. And it, for me, I feel like I needed an intermission. Because like you said, that song was the most powerful song. It was great. And then the movie was just so long. And when I spoke to my other friends about this film, I asked them if they'd seen it. And I think I spoke to 3 people. All 3 said, I'm halfway through. They made their own intermission. Because it is long. So I think if you have a day where you can just watch it straight through like I did, great, because you'll enjoy it. But I suggest maybe breaking it up because it's big. It's a long movie.
It's a big boy.
yeah. It'll test your patience a little bit with the length. I think probably they needed to trim it down just a touch for that length. I don't know where the heck they could trim it, but they got to trim it down somewhere.
It's a final product, but let's just say that if Lin-Manuel Miranda was going to make another film, he could learn from the mistakes from the casting issues to the links issues that other people has talked about to be able to get just underneath about 2 hours, bro.
Yeah, about 2 hours. 2 hours is about it. I think at 2 hours you're hitting the wall. And so there's at least another 20 minutes tacked onto the end of this film after the 2 hours. So it's long. And I think the length of the film hurt the box office. I don't know if you've heard.
Yeah, 11 million.
Right, and which is low, much lower than people expected. This was expected to be the big breakout movie. This was thought to be the movie that everyone would go back to the theaters for. Because, I don't know if you know, but this week, both LA and New York, major markets, are fully open now. So everyone thought this movie would be it. Everyone's gonna go to the movies to see In the Heights, and it didn't do bad, right? It didn't bomb, but it didn't do as well. And I think it's because of the length. In the theater, a movie that long, man, you can almost play 2 movies in that time when you're only playing one. So you're only gonna get half the views, So I think the length was just too long. And I think that's just a little bit of residue from it being a play. So,
And it didn't really, that what you just said didn't really just burst my bubble or grind my gears. Let's say, it's just it's a reality because that's you text me. He was like later, I was like, I'm not done.
Exactly.
This thing is long, bro.
Yeah.
But that to me, it doesn't really lower the value so much of the film. You know, the thing, like I said, the things I appreciate about this is family, culture, beautiful colors, and the way that what is the director's name? John Chu. Yeah, he used the camera very well in some couple instances, and there was some green screen that I saw when they were at the pool, and he was just yelling out, and there's people behind him. I was like, "That's a green screen. You can tell those people are back there."
Right, and there's some CGI in there too, in the film. Like, you know, there's a big scene where they're dancing on the side of a building, which is, I think, awesome.
It is awesome.
with a little use of CGI. Yeah, beautiful. And there's another spot where they're like these big banners that come down and cover the city, and, you know,
beautiful shots.
Yeah, beautiful. But I think what John Chu did wisely was, we spoke about this briefly with talking about Blade, how when you've got someone like Wesley Snipes who can actually do really great things, it frees up the director to just set his camera wide and leave it alone. You know, let the talent be talented, and he did that quite a bit, where he leaves the camera wide, and you can just watch these dancers like be amazing. So,
you know, as into regards to what you're saying about the wide lens and letting the talented dancers do their thing, the choreography in this was spot on. Like when Usnavi was looking out into the window from the shop that he owned and worked at, you could see all the dancers reflecting into the window, and they were all in sync. It looked beautiful. The pool scene where they were dancing looked beautiful. When they were doing all the flag representation, they were all dancing there, looked beautiful. And it was a wide shot, whether it was from this angle, where it's from mid to forward, whether it's from high angle down, which was the flag one, or whether it was from different little points and angles at the pool shot. Perfect.
Yeah, I
perfect
agree.
shot. So, and
the colors, man. He lets the movie is like it's a little oversaturated. Like, it's like everything.
It's like a Crayola box just burst inside.
Yeah, it's so colorful, so much energy. We talk about this a lot, and it's always nice to see like a movie from a different point of view, from someone who's not just like another white guy. You know what I mean? Like, and you can tell, you can feel it. You can feel that the person who wrote this film, the people that are in the film who are acting in it, and the person who wrote this and who is directing the film, lived a different life than the guy who wrote Cherry or something, right? You can tell, and it's for me, it's always just like so refreshing. It's like, I knew I was missing something. You know, there it is.
Yeah,
just a slightly different perspective.
So, people, that's what we're gonna. We're not gonna spoil so much more with this film. I'm gonna give my rating on this film because of with all the beautiful dancing, choreography, the acting in it was really good. The singing was great. The dancing was great. The location was really good. The camera shots, the angles was good. The editing was on point. You know, I'm gonna give this an 8.5. The only bump that I bring it down for is because of the length, like Devin said.
Yep, I'm gonna mirror you. I'm gonna give it also an 8.5. I think that length was it's unwieldy, and I know some people will not even see this movie or finish it because of the length, which is a shame, because it's a shame. It's a really pretty movie. It's a beautiful movie.
Powerful,
it's got a great story,
message.
Yep, it's a good movie. It's got a lot of energy. It's also a musical, which, you know, some people's mileage for musicals may vary. I like musicals, but, you know, just keep that in mind. It's a musical.
But the last musical I seen before this, no, it was not High School. It was The Wiz, and that's the one I ease on down, baby. That's what I did. Okay,
that's funny.
Carry nothing. It might be a load, all right. So, but this is a good second for me, and so I gave it an 8.5. Devin gave it an 8.5, and that is our review for In the Heights.
To live, we got a lot in common. DRP, y'all, we are not.
So that's our show for today, man. We'd like to thank Tom Holland and the people from Cherry. Thank you. We'd like to thank Lin-Manuel Miranda. Thank you for coming and blessing us with your stories today for us to review. Again, I am Tyrone, and you can find me on my my band's Instagram, yerp_ATL. All right. And I'm a gamer. Boy, I be twitching right now with Ratchet and Clank. Ooh, it's crazy. You got to see me on there. It's twitch.tv/YerpNationGaming. Gaming. And I've been uploading so much on my reaction page. I already did like 4 other reactions. You want to see what I'm reacting to? You got to get the Yerp Nation reactions. And subscribe to a brother on there, you know what I'm saying? And of course, you can see this face right here on Mostly Wrong Opinions. Yeah.
And I am Devin. I have a personal Instagram at DevinHarris29. You can find some of my writing at GeekSleepRepeat.com. And of course, you can find me right here on Most Wrong Opinions. We've got a TikTok too, so you should check that out as well. We haven't been posting as much recently, but
you never know. We might get funky one day. And if you follow, you can see us get funky on there. You know what I'm saying? So, do us a favor, please subscribe to the channel. And also, you can leave a like or dislike. Whatever it is your opinion. But you just remember one thing in the back of your mind. It's mostly wrong. See ya. Have a good one. Get out of here, kids.